Have to thank my muse, the city itself, and the late nights that taught me that true creation is a solitary journey. The words echoed in the vast auditorium, projected from the stage where Silas stood, a conquering hero bathed in the blinding white light of a projector screen. The Innovator of the Year award, a sharp shard of sculpted glass, glinted in his hand. His smile was the worst part, a slow, self-satisfied curve of his lips that seemed to catch and hold every bit of light in the room. It was a smile I knew intimately. I had once mistaken it for joy. That solitary journey had a co-pilot, I thought, my voice a silent whisper in the dark. I met Silas at a portfolio review night 5 years ago. He was all frantic energy and sprawling ideas, his sketchbook filled with wild, impossible concepts for smart architecture. He had the vision, but not the code, not the discipline. I had the discipline. My portfolio was sleek, functional, a series of user interface designs that were more engineering than art. He saw a tool, I saw a spark. Our first real collaboration was a pitch for a small gallery's lighting system. We worked for 72 hours straight, sketching on napkins at a 24-hour diner, fueled by stale coffee and a shared, frantic energy. We got the job. That was the good memory. The first red flag came a month later, during the client check-in. He kept saying I think and I designed. When I confronted him afterward, he laughed it off, a casual arm around my shoulder. Just a slip of the tongue, Vera. You know we're a team. I chose to believe him. Our golden period was Project Luna. It was our baby, an adaptive smart lighting system that learned a user's habits. For 2 years, it was our entire world. I remember the long nights in our small, shared workspace, mapping out the logic on a giant whiteboard, the smell of dry erase markers and lukewarm pizza. I spent 6 months perfecting the core algorithm while Silas, charming and brilliant, handled the networking, the schmoozing. He was the front man, I was the engine. The imbalance was gradual. He'd expense lavish client dinners at Per Se, then text me photos of the tasting menu. I'd be at the office debugging a critical flaw in the code. He'd say, you hate these things anyway, V, I'm saving you from the small talk. I rationalized it. He was good at that part. I was good at this part. Perfect partnership. The first crack in the foundation wasn't a crack at all. It was a locked door. I tried to log into our shared Dropbox folder one Tuesday morning to upload the latest build. Access denied. An hour later, an automated email landed in my inbox. Your access to the Luna FINALS folder has been revoked by the administrator, Silas Thorne. My blood went cold. He answered my call on the second ring, his voice smooth as honey. Oh, weird. Must be a glitch. I'll look into it. He never did. That was the day the quiet investigation began. I spent weeks combing through my own hard drive, my old emails, my digital footprint. I hired a data forensics specialist, a sharp woman named Yasmin, who helped me recover file metadata from my local cache. The evidence was damning. Timestamps on my original Figma design files predated his supposed conceptual sketches by months. I found early email chains where I had outlined the core adaptive ambience algorithm to him, and he'd replied, sounds complicated. You handle it. The discovery that truly broke me came from a simple corporate registry search. He had registered a shell company, Thorne Innovations, LLC, 3 months prior. He hadn't just been preparing to cut me out, he'd been building my cage around me while I worked. The breaking point was the Ascend Design Conference. I was in the audience, row 32, a seat I had paid for myself. Our old mentor, Professor Ramirez, was in the front row. Bitha Shaw, a powerful industry journalist, was sitting 2 seats away from him. Silas was on stage, accepting the Innovator of the Year award for Luna. His speech was a masterpiece of erasure. He spoke of lonely struggle, of a vision that came to him in a flash of inspiration, a singular moment of genius. Some people are great at execution, he said, his eyes scanning the adoring crowd, but it takes a singular vision to give birth to an idea. Luna is my vision, my child, born from my own creative fire. The applause was deafening. I didn't feel anger or sadness. I felt a profound, chilling calm. The pieces of a plan began to click into place, cold and precise as a lock mechanism. As his presentation slide cycled to the next image, I saw it, a tiny, overlooked detail. In the bottom right corner of a technical schematic, there was a faint watermark from an old piece of rendering software we had stopped using a year ago. Piece of software for which the single-user license was registered and paid for under my name. It was his digital fingerprint, and it was on my gun. The next morning, I officially retained Mr. Zimmerman, an intellectual property lawyer whose quiet intensity was a perfect match for my own. The retainer was $15,000, nearly all of my savings. He and Yasmin worked in tandem. For 2 months, we built our case. It was a meticulous, exhausting process of assembling a digital timeline that was irrefutable. One afternoon, my phone buzzed with a text from Silas. Hey, hope no hard feelings about the Luna thing, just business. Let's grab a coffee. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, ready to unleash a torrent of rage. But I heard Zimmerman's voice in my head. Do not engage. Let him think you've given up. I deleted the message without a reply. Our evidence was an arsenal. He had 117 timestamp design files from my local drive. He had the email records, the sworn affidavit from a freelance developer who confirmed he only ever dealt with me on technical matters. We had the transaction records showing $85,000 in project funds being diverted to Thorn Innovations. And then, the ironic coincidence that sealed it. Yasmin found a text message I had sent Silas 2 years earlier, a joke after a long day. LOL, if we ever get big, we should call our company Thorn Innovations. His secret company, the one he used to steal our life's work, had my sarcastic fingerprint all over it. Mr. Zimmerman filed for a formal intellectual property arbitration with the Design Guild. It was a strategic move. It felt less threatening than a federal lawsuit, a decoy Silas walked into willingly. He agreed immediately, eager to publicly squash what he called my bitter and baseless claims. Arbitration hearing was held in a sterile, windowless room, presided over by a panel of 3 stone-faced industry veterans. Silas arrived looking impeccable in a tailored suit, his Innovator of the Year award placed pointedly on the table in front of him. He was bravado personified. Mr. Zimmerman began, his voice even. We are here to establish the true origin of Project Luna. Silas smirked through the first hour, dismissing my contribution as that of a glorified assistant. Presented his media clippings and talked about his vision. Then Zimmerman began laying out the first wave of evidence, the emails, the file timestamps, the financial records of diverted funds. Silas's bravado began to curdle into confusion. His face tightened. He called it a simple misunderstanding of a fluid creative process. Then came the killer proof. Zimmerman projected the image from the conference, the schematic with the watermark. He asked Silas to identify it. A template graphic, Silas said, waving a dismissive hand. A stock asset. Mr. Zimmerman then projected the software license agreement, registered to Vera Sterling, dated 2 years prior. Heavy silence fell over the room. For the final blow, he displayed my text message. The lead arbiter turned to Silas. Mr. Thorne, can you explain how a name Ms. Sterling jokingly invented ended up as the registered name of your private corporation? Silas's face went slack. The color drained from it. He started to stammer, something about shared ideas about creative osmosis. The arbiter looked at me. Ms. Sterling, do you have anything to add? I looked directly at Silas, my gaze level and cold. True creation is not a solitary journey. The fallout was swift and catastrophic. The arbitration panel ruled unanimously in my favor, reverting full ownership of the Luna intellectual property to me. Silas was ordered to repay the $85,000 in diverted funds, plus damages. The guild publicly revoked his award. Bitha Shah, the journalist from the conference, wrote a scathing exposé for a major tech journal titled Intellectual Property Laundering, the startup scene's dirty secret. I didn't hear from him directly, but the news trickled back. He lost his funding, his reputation, his place in the world we had tried to build together. The most painful image came from a former colleague who told me he'd seen Silas working at a big-box electronics store. It was on the sales floor, demoing a cheap, clumsy knockoff of our Luna system to a handful of bored shoppers under the harsh fluorescent lights. My own renewal was quiet. I rebranded the project under my own name, Sterling Systems, and secured a new round of funding on my own terms. My new studio is smaller, but it's filled with sunlight and people I trust. Zimmerman and Yasmin are on my advisory board. Last week, I was a guest on a popular design podcast. The host asked me about my creative process, what it takes to bring an idea to life. I have to thank my collaborators, I said, a small smile playing on my lips. The late nights and the hard-earned lesson that true creation is never a solitary journey. It's about who you trust in the room with you. And now, for the first time, the room was finally mine.